So there was going to be a Heathers TV show. The movie Heathers, 1988, very, very influential, just deliciously mean and very, very specific in its language as far as how these teens relate to each other. There have been talks for a while of trying to find another way to get back to that world. And eventually, this television show, which you're looking at here, they did 5 episodes. Or no, they did a whole season of it, right?
Yeah, whole season.
And TV critics, TV writers got a look at the first handful of episodes, and Paramount Television was going to put it out there, and then decided to delay it, and then decided not to at all. And so the future of the show is in jeopardy, and a lot of it has to do with just timing, given that it's a show about violence and shootings and killings and suicides in high school. And it seems like there will never be an appropriate time for a TV show like this.
The original air date got pushed back because of the Parkland shooting, and then Paramount Television was like, oh, well, no, now would not be the right time, we're gonna hold off. And somebody tweeted, if you're gonna try and debut your show not within days of a school shooting, good luck with that. Mm-hmm. You know, that's where we are right now. And I think what I'm seeing out of all this is that this is the limitation of the golden age of television, is that there are still networks involved. You know, when Heathers the movie came out, you know, that was a movie that every studio turned down, that a lot of people thought was too dangerous or twisted or dark or whatever to make. But eventually, you know, they got indie financing, they got an indie distributor, and it came out, and it's a cult hit, and it's spawning a television show. But TV networks are, by their nature, a lot more conservative in a lot of ways about that kind of thing, about, you know, controversial material, risky material. And so, you know, they're walking away. And that's really, I haven't seen a second of this show, so I have no idea. But Dan Waters, who wrote the original, has endorsed it, and he says it's good. My friend Drew Droege is in the cast, and I think was going to write, or did write, the second season that has been written, but, you know, has no home. So I want to see this. I'm excited that it exists, and I am frustrated that I don't get to see it.
Yeah, I would say I get a little bit where that conservative mindset comes from, because the investment in a television show, especially at the level of which they've shot almost the whole season, that's a much higher investment than, you know, we're not talking hour and a half, 2 hours of film. We're talking about hours, or even if you're doing it as a 30-minute sitcom, you're still doing a lot of time, right? And so it is a bigger investment. It is going to be a little bit more risky. The other thing, going back to this, you know, in one of the episodes that got shown to critics is that there was a, you know, scene that's a first-person shooter video game that takes place in a school, and then that gets mirrored in the perspective of somebody going to the school. And you have to figure at least that episode, well, God, we can't show that one, right? Maybe, I don't know.
But that, according to the people who have actually seen it, because there's a handful of reviews out there, if you look at Rotten Tomatoes, are not great reviews, but there's a handful of reviews out there, that episode supposedly is the best one of all of the ones that
people have
seen. It's the 5th episode of this first season. So, I mean, right, as Alonso says, like, will there ever be a time, unfortunately, in this reality in which we live, in which, you know, you feel comfortable putting this kind of content out? When I was reading all about this, I was thinking back to after 9/11 and movies that maybe depicted terrorism, or movies that even showed the Twin Towers in them. But that's, as you say, a movie, and it's not a week after week commitment in terms of time, in terms of investment, and there's no good answer, right? And even with a new startup channel like the Paramount Network, right? It's not like it's an established, well, you couldn't show it on network TV, first of all. This kind of, if they're gonna do this show right, the way the original Heathers was done, they can't put it on normal TV. But you would think that with so many different avenues to show edgier television, that someone somewhere will feel comfortable with this. Part of the problem is that Paramount is part of Viacom, and the various places that they might have shown it within the Viacom umbrella is problematic, because they have taken a stand, and wisely so, like, we stand with these kids. They did 17 minutes of silence after Parkland to honor those kids.
But here's the thing, I don't know that it's one or the other. I don't think that this show is against those kids.
No, not at all.
I don't think that show is against the idea that, hey, maybe people shouldn't get shot in high school on a daily basis like we do in this country. I think that this is satire, and this is a dark parody about our society and about the way things roll. And apparently 30 years later, Heathers still has the power to shock and offend. But at the same time, Heathers has always been, at least the movie, has always been about a thing that really happens and about the way it's about the attitudes that people have toward it, whether it's the sort of the teachers who sort of want to make a whole big moment out of it, or the ones who want to sweep it under the carpet. This has always been a show that is a satire about how we deal with tragedy, how we deal with terrible things. I don't think that the show, I think you can be pro Heathers and also pro Parkland.
No, and what's interesting about this incarnation of it is that it flips the dynamic of the film. And so the Heathers aren't the beautiful, rich, popular people. They're folks who have traditionally been outcasts in this situation, whether because they're gay or because of what they look like or whatever. And so and then the people, the Veronica and JD figures are the blandly pretty ones. And that's an interesting way to flip that and not just do a rehash of Heathers.
The somewhat ironic thing is that this movie, I mean, maybe one of the differences too, we just found out today that 13 Reasons Why is getting a third season, right? And this season, this second season has dealt with the idea of high school violence and
suicide.
But that's a serious show, right? 13 Reasons Why isn't a satire as such. And you have to think, well, and a little bit is it that the corporate PR flacks are not quite sure how they're going to defend satire and say, look, we're commenting on this.
Yeah,
that's a harder one.
This is more comfortable because we're treating it seriously and we're having discussions about it and we're hoping to start a conversation, which I'm sure Heathers would also. But again, you could take 5 seconds, 10 seconds of Heathers out of context and have some religious loon show it on Fox News and everybody gets their knickers in a twist. Whereas 13 Reasons Why is very staid about how it's talking about these topics and I'm not saying that it is an after school special, but it feels like it could be in that department. It is very special. It is, we're being very serious about this terrible thing, whereas Heathers is being wacky about this terrible thing, and people don't know how to deal with that.
And you were a fan of the first season of 13 Reasons Why, correct?
I was. And I'm not a parent, I can't go into all that stuff, but I think that I did not walk away from that thinking, woo, yeah, teen suicide, great idea. It made it look horrifying, and it talked about the resonance that one person's act has on all the people around them.
Yeah, it's a thing where you want to address these topics that kids want to talk about. They want to have outlets to express their fears or their interest or their concern, whatever it is. And not showing it is, I think, contributing to the problem. Like, let people have the conversation. Let them explore whatever uncomfortable emotions might exist for them because of the world in which we live.
That's what art does.
Right.